Welcome to Folding Towels, a podcast for massage therapists with Jackie and David. If you are enjoying our episodes and want to support the production, consider buying us a coffee. Your contributions help us bring you more insightful discussions and expert interviews. Follow the link in the show notes or visit buymeacoffee.com/Folding Towels podcast to contribute, and thank you for your support. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Folding Towels podcast. Hello, Jackie.
Hi, David. So good to be here. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. I've been for a walk in the sunshine just before the rain started. There was this little brief window. I've gone and checked out some of my neighbours' gardens. Feeling good.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah. We've got an exciting day today, haven't we?
We have a wonderful guest today. I'm very excited to chat with her.
Welcome, Ronna, to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Jackie and David. And I've just felt a wet nose on my hand. So my dog has arrived. So
Life is better with dogs in it.
Absolutely. She's going to participate in some way or another. Hopefully it's a good contribution.
Yeah.
Great to meet you both. And as you know, I have been listening to the podcast. And before anything else, I just want to say well done. And it's really great to have some Australian content. I think there are a couple of other massage therapy focused podcasts from Australia, although I haven't listened to them. I'm a great podcast enthusiast and most frequently listen to podcasts from the United States. But I really, really value an Australian contribution. So thank you very much for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you for that, Ronna.
That's so good.
We are joined today by Ronna Moore, who is a highly experienced remedial oncology and palliative care massage therapist based in Melbourne, Australia. She currently works at the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre and the Eastern Palliative Care. And in addition to her hands-on work, she is a PhD candidate at La Trobe University, whereas she is researching massage therapy within palliative care, focusing on its prevalence and barriers to its implementation in Australian healthcare settings. So Ronna has been around for over 30 years in massage therapy. How do you keep on going?
Yes, good question. Unfortunately, it is actually approaching 40 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's so totally scary. I didn't mean to do that. Like, unfolded. I started my first massage therapy course in Sydney in 1982.
Wow.
And, it was run in a house, and I still have a copy of the course curriculum, and it's roneoed. Most listeners, I imagine, won't even know what a roneo is, but it's a very primitive form of printing. And so, that's where it started. So it's coming up to 40 years since I actually started my private practice in Melbourne.
Wow.
Do I look exhausted?
You look amazing.
Well, we're going to start with a fun question for you, and it's something that we ask all of our guests. Who is your favorite superhero and why?
Yes, well, you've got no idea. Conniptions as a result of that question, because it sent me down a rabbit hole. Yes. So thanks very much for that. But I don't really have a superhero of the Marvel kind. So I had to really think about this and reflect upon it. And I do recall as a child, I was absolutely mad about Phantom.
Yes.
And so that's one. I'm going to give you a couple. And primarily, I think, because he had a really cool suit, and he had a dog called Devil, and he had a horse called Hero. And they're both, well, I love both those animals, but he didn't have a superpower. What he had was good intentions. So I like that. Also, it did make me think about Alice in Wonderland as a superhero for curiosity.
Yes.
And then I thought I couldn't stop then. So then I thought of Winnie the Pooh, primarily because of kindness. And Winnie had a bit of a reputation as being a bit dim, but I've kind of morphed that into beginner's mind. So that's kind of where I came at with a superhero. But I do think that heroes mostly for me are humans, and they do have powers, but they might not be supernatural powers. So I've got lots and lots of those. So
I love those
in a
ideas.
rabbit hole.
Yeah. And I love Piglet as a character.
Oh, yes.
Piglet is just so wise.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of little books around Zen statements and Winnie the Pooh, and they're just beautiful.
They are. They're really carefully extracted, and it's almost 100 years. I think it's 100 years since A.A. Milne published Christopher Robin. It's 100 years ago, and obviously all those characters still have meaning, especially when they're morphed into modern thinking. Like,
yeah.
I absolutely love those answers, and love that you have really gone with the humanity of superheroes. And I remember when we were very first talking about this, David asked me, who's my superhero? And one of my answers was Spider-Man. And it was the same reason, because of his vulnerability and his kindness and his humanity. And he just wanted to do good in the world. So I really, really love your answers so much.
Yeah.
Jackie. Thank you.
Well, you shared that you started your massage career or your massage training in 1982. So what first drew you to the profession?
Well, to be quite frank, it was boredom. I was in London, and I was my companion was doing some work there, but I wasn't. So I happened around the corner from where we were staying. There was an advertisement for an aromatherapy massage workshop that weekend. And I had the experience of massage myself, which is quite unusual during the 70s as a result of some health conditions. I went to see, or was encouraged to see, an osteopath, and he did some massage. So I was actually accustomed to the idea of massage. And so I kind of thought, oh, that might be interesting. So, and it was, of course, interesting. And when I came back to Australia, I sought out some other courses, and mostly little ones to begin with, workshops that would just lasted 2 or 3 days. And then I ultimately found myself enrolled in a remedial massage course at Nature Care College in Sydney, which still exists today. I don't believe they provide massage therapy courses anymore. I might be wrong there. And I also did some of my training at New South Wales College of Natural Therapies, and it kind of unfolded. There are a couple of reasons for that. I think one was because I'd left behind a couple of careers. I was a teacher to begin with in my life, and various life events sort of pushed me this way and that way. But there was something around the pleasure, actually, which remains to this day, the pleasure of providing massage. It's just as simple as that. I spent a lot of time as a child grooming horses, and lots of my ponies and horses loved being groomed, which in a way just protracted effleurage, really. And there's something about that movement and the connection, which still to this day is something that is intrinsic to my longevity and my experiences. The other component is the incredible body of knowledge associated with massage therapy, to do with biology, anatomy and physiology, and human beings. So I think that was it. It was a combination of a physical thing plus the knowledge associated. So those two things combined. And then there was the additional thing that something so simple as touch, when it is engineered, I suppose, to be nuanced for benefit, that's an additional driver. So that's why I'm here. That's why I was there at the beginning and still here today.
Yeah. Well, most massage schools, they focus heavily on muscles and bones, and particularly in the most recent HLT diplomas, there's a very strong focus on sport. But your career has taken quite a different path. And how have you ended up working with the clients that you focus on, and particularly through palliative care?
Yeah, again, it's like a stepwise progression. Initially, I did think I would go into that field, into the sports field. When I was in Sydney doing that initial course, there was a course on offer at the ANU in the Sports Institute. over the summer, and it was Chinese massage. That's how it was advertised. And I was initially excited because I saw the workshop advertised at the Sports Institute, thinking that I was going to be working on the Ferrari versions of humans. But I wasn't quite comfortable or confident enough to engage with Chinese massage. But I still had the intention to work in that field, musculoskeletal basis. That's where I thought I was heading. And when I came back to Victoria, I'm originally from Geelong, and when I returned to live in Victoria, and to set up my private practice, I thought that's what I was going to be doing. I worked for a brief time for a health resort, which no longer exists, but that gave me an opportunity. There was quite a lot of quite famous athletes and other people that came through that health resort, and that seemed to substantiate my direction, if you like. And certainly the PD that I undertook at that time was in that direction too. I did some very early training with Rob Granter way back when. And
Rob's a gem.
Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. And obviously a huge influence in massage therapy in Australia. But then life does things to you. And I actually had embarked on a slightly different step. I decided to embark on Feldenkrais training. So that was in the late 80s, I suppose. I'm not going to step you through decade by decade. It'll be just too boring. But so I started doing Feldenkrais training, and then I became unwell, which was a sporadic event through my life since childhood. And I had two very close friends who were both diagnosed with breast cancer within a fairly short time. And that changed everything. And initially, the focus was on attaining the skills of manual lymphatic drainage, because one of those dear friends developed lymphedema. And I discovered that there was avenues to support somebody with lymphedema through massage, manual lymphatic drainage. I did a couple of courses, but I ended up with a VODA training. I am a VODA therapist. And in fact, I did my final VODA training in Adelaide. I came across when Robert Harris was the teacher in Adelaide. And I'd have to say, of all the courses I've ever done, apart from this latest work in leading towards doctorate, the VODA training was the toughest I have done, primarily because of the precision required, which comes in very handy, but to acquire it is quite tricky. Robert was a scary but wonderful teacher. So I then really settled into a practice of lymphedema management, plus the use of manual lymphatic drainage for post-surgical support. I was very fortunate to have a very strong private practice not actually initially, because I had a completely empty diary. There I was ready, but nothing happening. And my charge at that stage was $15 per month. But as time went on, I actually did build a practice very fast through word of mouth. And you'd have to recognize that probably the reason for that was that there weren't that many of us around, but there was demand. There was demand, and nearly all my clients in those days were of European origin. So they were accustomed to body work. They were also accustomed to completely undressing when they had a massage. So the draping protocols, I think David made mention of this, have evolved over the time. But in my early days, I would actually, being a typical sort of Anglo-Saxon sort of freaky out kind of person, it used to startle me somewhat. But nevertheless, I continue to have a very strong private practice. With that group of people that I had in those early days, one of them had a father who happened to be a plastic surgeon, and he was very interested to hear about the manual lymphatic drainage that I'd been applying. So he invited me to support his post-surgical patients. And I'm still doing, in fact, I've got two of, not his, but another associate of his this afternoon. So I've continued to do that all through this time. And it is primarily around, plastic surgery can be sort of anywhere on the bodies. These plastic surgeons that I've been working with do a bit of a mix of plastic recon for, say, cancer recon or cosmetic surgery. And the cosmetic surgery maybe because someone's had a terrible car accident and they want to rebuild their face. So I had some extraordinary surgical procedures over the years, and the manual lymphatic drainage has been very well received in that area. So that's one train of practice that I've maintained all this time. But with the lymphedema practice, of course, you can't help in Australia but bang into cancer, because the primary cause of lymphedema in Australia is secondary to cancer. In other countries, it's different. In Asia, it's lymphatic filariasis that is the primary cause for lymphedema. But here, we're more likely to see there is some primary lymphedema. People are born with a genetic predisposition, but mostly it's after cancer. And I'd already had my friends who were having their cancer experience. So that bent my mind in that direction. And then, unfortunately, if you start dealing in the cancer field, you are going to deal with people whose prognosis isn't good. And that led me to palliative care. So it's been a kind of a stepwise process. They all kind of blend into each other. And so where I am now is I have actually recently left working at EPC after 12 years, and I'm still primarily only at the cancer centre and my very small these days private practice. And my task at the cancer centre I was invited to establish a oncology massage program there, and we haven't quite got to where we want to be, and I will stay there until we get it more established. Wow.
That is a journey.
When you live this long and do this there's a lot,
One of the downsides of a podcast is that we can't see the person who is speaking. I just want our listeners to know that as you tell your story, you've got quite the smile on your face, and I can just see how excited you are, not just about where you've come from, but what's coming ahead. There's a deep passion, deep drive there.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Yes, I tend not to think about it as passion so much as just it does reward one. When you find something, there's a seam of joy in what I do, and that it's not always there. It's not always available to me for all sorts of reasons, but it is there. So when you have that, you can actually just keep going. Although I must say, I am going to stop, because I'm quite sure I'm going to be going straight from completion of my doctorate into the aged care facility. I'm quite sure. But, I don't think I'll be hands-on anymore then. But, I am drawing to a close, but I'm going to do so. As my supervisor said, you want to make a capstone for your career. And I think that's right.
Mm.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because you've mentioned a PhD and research has come up a few times. What are you actually doing?
Yes, what am I doing? I ask myself that question all the time, particularly with a why next to it. Well, let me just explain a little bit how I got there, because it's not like I woke up one day and thought, great, I'm going to do a doctorate. It didn't happen like that. There's a couple of factors involved. The first is just my own intellectual curiosity. I was very lucky now I have to say, what is really important about my lymphedema practice, my entry into that field, was that I joined the Lymphedema Practitioners Education Group of Victoria, a long name, quite some time ago. They had been around a little while. I think I just joined when they had their 20th anniversary. And this is a multidisciplinary group of people, which is what happens in lymphedema. You have nurse practitioners, you've got physios, you've got OTs and massage therapists. And that was my first encounter with multidisciplinary engagement. And that's been very, very important. It's automatic in palliative care, actually, which is another reason to give one joy, because you're encountering other disciplines all the time. It's very enriching. I can't overstate that too much. And what that led to was that I collaborated with a physiotherapist, and we did a case study for an Australasian Lymphology Association conference. It happened to be, which was very joyful because we got to go to Auckland. And we presented a case study poster there and we won a prize. So not only had it been the very first case study I'd ever been involved in, and going to a conference, but we also, had this reward. It was about $40. Like, it was just amazing. But I think that stimulated my interest in gathering together information to share it with others, which is basically what research is. It's, curiosity about something, organized curiosity, it's usually described as, and then it's translating that to others. And then not long after that, I had started working at EPC. Palliative Care Victoria in those days, they sadly no longer do this, but they offered a scholarship to do some postgraduate study in palliative care at University of Melbourne. And I thought that would be very nice indeed to do. It was an undergraduate degree in health sciences. I didn't have that. I had done an undergraduate degree, but in a completely different area. But it also had next to it the phrase "or similar" or something like that. And I thought I'll circle that and make that work for me. And it actually wasn't that easy. They didn't really want to accept me into the course. So this was for what they called a specialist certificate in Pal Care. And in any case, I kind of eventually persuaded them to undertake the course. And it was primarily, there were physicians, there was a couple of psychologists, there were social workers, there were nurses, there were, other health professionals, and one massage therapist. And I loved that course, and then went on to do the next level, which was a grad cert. Now, after that, so the learnings in that were just fabulous, not only for my intellectual curiosity, but also because it was immediately translatable into my work with my clients at EPC, of whom I've seen hundreds by now, possibly even thousands. But I then thought, why stop here? But unfortunately, University of Melbourne is very biomedically focused in their research, and there really wasn't a pathway for me there. But I had been attending palliative care conferences, and I had encountered a particular professor and cornered him one day, and he said, "Come and talk to me." And so I did. And as I left the office, and strangely, that is the university I attended back in the day when I was a young hippie. And he said, "I think you've got to do a doctorate." So I came home and told my partner, and he said, "I don't think so." But that's what I'm doing. And it's in the School of Public Health and Psychology. And it's very, it's very challenging because I haven't got a research background. I haven't been in an academic institution for a very long time indeed. Lots of things have changed. Technology is completely different. So absolutely everything I have done, I've had to learn how to do it. And I may be fantasizing, but I think my brain used to work better when I was younger. But now I bump into issues all the time. I've driven my son away because I was forever asking him how to do things. And he's saying, "Mum, I've already told you how to do." He's left me now and he's gone to live in Sydney, which is very I've had to find somebody else to help me. But that's okay because there's always someone willing to help. And that's what I've learned big time, is that you need to be able to be vulnerable enough to ask for help.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm getting through. Now, as to what it is, I've finished my scoping review. I'm hoping that will be published early next year. Sometimes the publishing process is quite challenging, as I know, because I've been doing some reviewing for one of the journals. So I know it's time consuming and hard just to get things just right. And then look, it will unfold. I'm only doing it part-time. And I've needed to take a couple of leaves of absence again because my health sometimes just implodes. But I will get there. And so that was, I really should have gone back and said that was one driver, just my intellectual drive. The second thing is that I feel like massage therapy absolutely has to be able to articulate and advocate for itself, particularly because of the other main driver for me is equity of access. And that's why I work in public institutions. The hospital I work at is a public institution, and so is EPC. So that means that people who cannot afford to have a massage in the community will be able to benefit from what I think all of us know the benefits of massage therapy. And it seems to me that we are missing that element to our work. Now, completely understand why, because it's difficult. It's difficult to make a living as a massage therapist. There are not many employed opportunities for massage therapists in public health settings. I was lucky enough to be in one of the best at EPC, which had a long massage program and has 6 therapists, 5 or 6, well supported, well paid, with all the advantages of being in a health service and being able to provide massage therapy to people who really, really benefit, who would not otherwise be able to receive. So that was the other driver, because I think the only way that we can get there is through advocacy, and advocacy requires research. So that's the other thing. I was absolutely so impressed with Stuart Hines talking about his, on your podcast, but also I think in the article that he wrote, about his advocacy in his own space when he was working at the footy club, my team, Go Cats. But Stuart was really, I think he articulated the necessity to really advocate, articulate, ask questions, have humility around what we can do. I think that's really important, and learn from others and connect with others. So they're really the drivers, Jackie, for me doing the doctorate.
I love your answer. And look, honestly, if there's one thing that I've learned this year, it's how important that is, that self-advocacy and the connection with research. And David and I were at the Massage and Myotherapy Association conference this year, and that was a huge topic that we had there, was research. Like you said, Stuart talked to us about that a little bit.
And I think Eleanor was there too.
Yes.
Oncology Massage was there as well.
Yes.
I understand that massage therapists will have different views and feelings about research. For some, I did have a therapist who I very much respect, and she said, research means nothing to me. I have no interest in research, and that's absolutely fine. I think it's worth considering, though, that we depend on research. If it weren't for research, we would not be getting our private health funds would not be providing a rebate to clients.
Yes.
There's certain steps that we've made forward, as I can see over my 40 years of being in this field. There's an infrastructure, or there's a backroom stuff that goes on that may not be evident to the massage therapist doing their mobile service with autonomy, which we're lucky to have, actually. It's really one of the beauties of being a massage therapist, is you can have a great deal of autonomy. But I think it's important to recognise that underlying all that is change that is driven by research and advocacy that comes with it. And I think, may I just say that I thought it was wonderful that you had Anne and
Selena
from MMA, because I think I sometimes see in Facebook pages, what do our associations do? Right.
Correct.
The thing is, they do a great deal, and it may not be immediately evident. It's like that wonderful saying, no seed ever sees the flower. So sometimes things are planted and done, and you don't actually, the person who did it didn't see it, but other people do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think research is important. There's only a very small group of massage therapists who operate in that field, do research, would be a simpler way to say it. In Australia, Jan Douglas from Adelaide is a really great example. I'm collaborating with another Australian PhD researcher, Sarah Fogarty, who's done.
I know Sarah.
Yeah, you know.
Yes.
She's wonderful. She's about to conclude her study that I was a part of, actually, but I didn't actually massage anyone, but I was still a part of it.
Oh, good. Great. You're contributing, Jackie. Well done.
Yeah.
Tiny bit.
Yeah, Sarah and I are collaborating on a paper now with another colleague, Cal Cates from the United States. But there's another woman called Judith Lovers who did a fabulous research project for her PhD on traumatic brain injury some years ago. And I think there's a couple of others that may have a PhD in another field and they've shifted into massage. So I think it's a small kernel of activity. MMA are supporting ARCHIM. Is it ARCHIM? The Australian Research. Oh, I've forgotten what it is. Usually out of UTS. It's the complementary.
Pracky,
that's it.
Yeah.
I think there's a background group too, but the Pracky. And so there are things happening. And I would really encourage any therapist who has any interest at all to follow that path. I know it's difficult, but I really think the benefits will be enormous, not only to the person themselves, but to the recipients of our work and massage therapists.
How do massage therapists get involved in research?
Well, that's tricky because there's a couple of ways, I think. One is really the necessity to be connected with an institution that does research. And that is not easy. It means maybe going back to university, like I've done. It might mean linking with somebody who's linked in with the university. And there is the Nikki Monk's dream of establishing practice-based research, which means that in their own practices can participate. Certainly people can participate, at case study level. I think there's quite a lot available on the Massage Therapy Foundation and the scholarship that MMA advance each year for their conference to support people doing case study. Our case studies are useful and they are the base of. I read a really interesting case study just earlier this week. It wasn't a good result, but it was good to read it. It was somebody who experienced an aneurysm, I can't remember the details now, as a result of having axillary massage. So it was an adverse outcome, but it was a really interesting paper. So there's not that many adverse events, thankfully, from massage, but you do it. Actually, I had somebody not that long ago come to me at my cancer centre, and she had a massage in the community, and she ended up in hospital because she ended up with a pathological fracture in her neck, and it was quite serious. So she'd been referred to me, and she was very anxious, as you'd understand. So why am I doing this? Why? So that was kind of a really interesting demonstration of the importance of having some training around oncology. So it was, she could have died. And I think that, it just speaks to what I've said. There are risks, even though adverse events are actually quite rare. So I think there is opportunity in that formal sense. There may be opportunity at case study level, and then there's the potential for, I'm just summing up what the main avenues, and the other one is the practice-based research. Now, that hasn't really been, as far as I know, hasn't been really effectively rolled out in Australia yet, but there could be opportunities in the future for that. And that would be that people would be working with a particular population, for example. So therapists in this clinic, that clinic, another clinic may all select clients that have a particular issue, and they might develop a protocol, even though we don't usually have a specific, we certainly don't in my work have a specific protocol for work, apart from lymphedema management. But it would be a protocol, and then there would be some pre and post testing, and then that would be assembled as a cohort, like a group. So that's another potential, but that's not my area of expertise. So I don't know, but I think that might be an avenue in the future that can be explored. There are some issues around ethics with that, but there's always issues with ethics. So it's just trying to carefully negotiate your way through.
Yep.
So I think watch this space for that. And
I agree.
I don't know any other avenue really.
I do think we're going to see more and more people doing research around massage, because from my limited understanding, people are really starting to push this. And as you said, with the private health funds wanting everything to be evidence-based, like this is something that has really come more into the consciousness of massage therapists. But again, having all that autonomy as well is really amazing. It's such a good thing.
Yes. Nikki Monk has this great slide which shows the increase in massage therapy research over the last, say, 20 years. And it really is quite a significant climb.
Mm.
And I know that in my scoping review that I've done for my doctorate, there's more papers more recently than previously.
Yeah.
Not only that, they're mostly now identifying, they might say the provider was a massage therapist. So in the past, a lot of the papers, it was a nurse providing the service. So there's been a shift. So I think there is a shift, and I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is consumer demand. There's no doubt that, especially with a focus on person-centered care, which is, every health services mission statement will have that in there. So if it is going to be person-centered, patient-centered care, then it needs to take into account the preferences of patients and persons. And there's no doubt that demand was a key factor in the oncology massage program, being the one that I am working in. That was a key factor. So that's one thing. There's just more people that are familiar with the benefits of massage therapy, and they're saying, why isn't it here? Especially with something like oncology massage, but it could be other areas as well. But this is the area I know most about. That in the United States and the UK, the presence of massage therapy in oncology settings is definitely increasing. So what does that mean for Australia? We're meant to be, one of the most advanced services in terms of management of cancer. I recently presented at an integrative, it was the inaugural integrative cancer symposium in Sydney. We'd done an evaluation of the program at Peter Mac, and there was recognition of massage therapy. The American Society for Cancer Organizations has in its evidence base around complementary therapies. It recommends massage therapy. So, and it's popping up in places like that. The recent survey that Palliative Care Australia did, they included massage therapy for the first time that I remember in their surveys. They had massage therapists listed as one of the health professionals. So it's a combination of evidence building, demand, then other people, other policy makers or leaders say, oh, maybe that's something we need to consider. So we won't do that until we have more research. So it kind of builds, it is the classic thing of brick by brick. And we do need more people. I mean, it's great to have massage therapists doing research, but we are inherently biased. So we need to have rigor around the research we do. So we need to attract attention from other researchers as well. And there's certainly the people behind Pracky, they're interested in all complementary therapies and integrative medicine, and massage therapy is kind of included in that. I'm very keen to see other researchers. I would love some of the researchers at my institution, other than a massage therapist, become interested in massage therapy to research. And I think that will happen, but it's not tomorrow. and that's unfortunate because, it is like moving an ocean liner, though, Sometimes you be in a speedboat, but there's none available.
It takes time. It wasn't really a question. It was more of an observation, and definitely agreeing with you. And like I said to David at the conference, I love this. I'm so curious, and I'm very excited for some of this research to happen, but I'm not sure that I'd be any good at doing it. I'd certainly do a case study if I felt so inclined, but it's fascinating. And I hope that our listeners can sort of see that things are not just, I just go to work and I see my clients and I do the thing and it's all very ho-hum, and after, 10, 20 years, it's quite boring. But there's actually so much happening behind the scenes with the associations, with research, with everything. And I love that. Like I got so excited at the conference, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that.
No, I think it's that's what conferences do, and that is that connection with others and bearing witness to all the good things that other people are engaged in. And I think that's also a good reason why to go to other conferences other than massage therapy. Massage therapy is a really great one. I haven't been to the MMA conference for a while. I did do a presentation there called "Would you like some evidence with that?" a while ago, and I think sometimes it clashes with the ALA conference. Going to other conferences is really good too. But that is difficult because they're very expensive. And I've been lucky enough to be funded to nearly all the conferences I've been to. So it's tricky, because even if you want to do stuff, sometimes there's an impediment. And I do remember Jackie saying that you might just start putting money aside to go to the conference next year or something. And I think that's a great idea. And you do have to select out the PD you're going to do, because PD is like, I love PT. I love doing courses. I'm even doing the Diane Jacob, the AMT dermoneuromodulation workshopy thing, because I love that work. It dovetails very nicely with MLD. PD is very important. I remember one of my lecturers telling me that knowledge and skills degrade quite significantly over time. So folk who are out there doing what they've always done are not actually doing what they've always done, because as time goes on, little things, nuances drop off. And if you're not re-stimulating your interest, commitment, you will not be doing what you thought you were doing.
Yeah, totally agree.
And I think that's why PD is really important. Yeah. And also it just, it's not that we should expect all massage therapists to have long careers. We want them to have good careers and to be engaged and interested and do the best they can. But if it works out that it's not really for them, then that's okay too. That's a good realization, because you don't want to be stuck doing something that is boring and unfulfilling. Like, why would you do that? Yeah.
Before we wrap up, you've been in the industry now for almost 40 years. And that far exceeds the average life of a massage therapist.
Not the only one. I know there's some others that are around.
What is one key piece of advice you'd like to give to a new or an emerging massage therapist?
Oh, well, really, pretty much just what I said. I think it's really important to check in regularly. And this is the whole sort of self-care piece, I suppose, are you being nourished by what you're doing? Sometimes you don't have the freedom to make that decision because you've got to pay a mortgage or you've got to, whatever. But if you have the opportunity to really reflect on what you're doing, is it really in accordance with your values? Is it really in accordance with what you want from your life? And if it is, really commit to it. Really put your whole self there, and in a self-caring way. But I think it can be an incredibly enriching experience to be a massage therapist. There's challenges, but if you recognize that's where you find your happy place of working, then really, really commit to it and explore lots of opportunities wherever they might arise. I think that's it.
It's good advice. I know we're a little short on time here, so I'll make this really as brief as I can. I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you, David, but I listened to an episode of the Diary of a CEO podcast recently, and it was about sleep.
Yes.
And the person that was being interviewed, I've forgotten all the names, so I apologize to those people, but the person that was being interviewed actually did a lot of research around sleep. And at the end of the interview, she said that she actually doesn't do anything for the sake of doing it. She does it because it aligns with her values. And that's how she ended up doing what she was doing. And she did list her actual values, which was great. And it was just such an interesting take that she went at life, not because, I need to do this, I need to have this qualification, or I need to have this job, but does this job actually get me peace in my heart and mind? Does it align with those values that I have? That she really lives for her values. And I just thought that was amazing.
100%. We're going to do an episode on that, Jackie.
We 100% should.
Yes, Brene Brown's got a really nice talk, or I think there's a whole book on values. And the other person who does some really nice stuff on values is Russ Harris from Acceptance Commitment Therapy, which is one of the things rabbit hole I've been down. But he's just knowing what your values are.
Yeah.
They switch. They can change in priorities. Because life, does cause us to do that. But yeah, if you're not aligned with your values, you're going to strike trouble.
Yes. It's the road to burnout.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time today, Ronna. The time has flown by. I have felt engaged all the way through. I've been quite excited listening to you talk, and I'm excited for my career based on what you've described today of your own.
Yeah, well, that's good. Keep going, you two, because, you do bring some passion and a drive, and we need it. So thank you.
Thank you for your wonderfully kind words about our podcast. That is what keeps us going, all of the positive feedback that we get. So thank you, Ronna, and thank you everyone else that has given us some positive feedback. We love doing this.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, we can wrap it up, Jackie.
Yes.
It's been, I have no words left.
I can tell. I'm waiting for you to say something and nothing comes. I think, David and Ronna, that we should absolutely do another chat with you, because I know you have more information and knowledge to share, and we would love to have you on again. So that would be great.
Yeah, the self-care and mindfulness aspect of what I do, that's incredibly important. And yeah, well, it is important. I wouldn't believe I didn't have that. That's the thing that enables everything else to happen. And I think people can benefit from just being reminded every now and then about the importance of self-care and exploring different avenues to ensure that they do so. Yeah.
Awesome. I look forward to that.
Well, if you have enjoyed this episode today, why not jump onto Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your favorite listening app, like and subscribe. You can leave us a 5-star rating. That would be amazing. There is an opportunity to leave us a message as well through Spotify, and also head to our website, foldingtowerspodcast.com.au, where you can go to the contact page and send us a message. Say, we love this interview today and we'd like to hear more. Maybe send us an idea for what you'd like to hear as well. Thanks for joining us today, Ronna. Great to see you again, Jackie.
Thanks, David. I'll see you again next week.
See you the next one.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.